Brian, it's been a strange old day, actually, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's always disappointing when any manager moves on. It's been a difficult one for everybody. I think at any football club, you need to look back and realise that there are humans involved, people with families, and it's always a sad day when somebody you know and respect moves on. But I think everybody realises that's the nature of football. That these things happen and we all move on and we all remain friends and we all leave on good terms.
So let's clear it up. I mean, was it a sacking? Was it a resignation? Was it an agreement with where he's going?
We came to a mutual agreement with Micky and Michael as well, that in the best interest for everybody, that it would be best for them to move on. I think we've looked at it. I think the performances and the let's be honest, let's cut to the chase here. The players haven't, the team haven't performed as to how we would expected this season, and we've taken a view. We've tried to be as patient as possible with how it's going, and I think it's probably in the best interest of everybody that we make this change. And it's obviously by mutual consent that we've all left in good terms. We've all shaken hands, and I think that's important in football sometimes. Sometimes people leave in bad terms, but you always want to leave on good terms, whether it's the manager, assistant manager, or whoever, whether it's a player. I think everybody should always leave in good terms and shake hands, and that was the way it was this morning. And we wish Micky and Michael the best wishes for their future as well. So it's important that everybody gets on and everybody can still talk to each other beyond this morning.
There's been some unrest among fans, that's clear for all to see. I mean, you obviously hear it up in the top where you sit as well. Does that had a sort of a bearing on it as well, the fact that other people, just from your little coterie, see that things aren't right?
I think to the end of the day, whether you're a director, player, supporter, or whatever level, if you're an employee like myself, then you're always conscious of how the team are performing, and we're all aware that it's a results-driven business. Micky's win ratio is still at 40-odd%, over 40%. I still think, and he's had a successful time here as well. So, but I think everybody's. You look at the chairman. The chairman's a huge fan of the club. If anybody feels it, he feels it. Same with James as director. Everybody feels it. Everybody, if there's a defeat or a draw that we probably potentially could win, we all hurt after the game, and it's hard. It is very difficult. And in the day, you've got a board of directors who are very supportive of the club and want the best interests of the club. So, just like the fans out there, everybody feels it at every game or every defeat.
Of course, the next move is to appoint a new manager. Is the one in the wings? Somebody waiting?
No, there isn't actually. I've got to be honest about that. Although we're in the situation we are just now, we do need to now address what we want to do. The most important thing is the team on the pitch. Obviously Bradford on Saturday, and we're grateful to Danny Coyne for taking the team affairs. From he took training today and tomorrow, and he'll take the game Saturday. Obviously we're keen to try and make an appointment as quickly as we possibly can, but at the end of the day it's important for the football club, for long term, that we make the right appointment in the best interest of the football club. We need to look at what the options are and try and make a decision, obviously as quickly as possible, but to make sure it's in the best interest of the club.
Would you see someone in post by the following Saturday, the Walsall game?
I would never like to put dates on it. Having been in football for nearly 20 years, it's not one you could ever say when anybody would be appointed. Obviously the things come to head this morning. I think we also need to look back on Micky and Michael as well and say, well, do you know what, we have a bit of respect for them as well, which I do, and take our time and make sure we get the right appointment, which is more important than anything else.
Are you looking for a particular style of manager, Brian?
No, I think we have to look to see what's out there, what's available, what we can do and what's best fit, because sometimes managers don't always fit at certain clubs, and I think it's important to try and obviously act, as I said before, in the best interest of the club and try and hopefully pick who the club feels is the best man to take this job forward, take this club forward. I look at the budget that we've got, and I think we should be, let's be honest, we should be better than where we are in the league. I think the players are definitely there, that we can have better performance than we have. Yeah, we've been unlucky, and I know we don't like to say it, but there's been small margins that we have has affected us in a lot of games, but I think we all, whether we're fans or whatever, we all realise that the players are there, and it's just sometimes it can be confidence in football as well, and you go through a barren spell of picking up draws rather than winning, and you pick up losses instead of drawing, and it can be very hard on everybody, and the stress definitely tells on the players especially. I think you just need to look at the last couple of games and you say, well, I thought on Tuesday night, I thought we actually played really, really well in the second half, and I thought on Saturday, you could sense the nervousness amongst the players because they needed a result, and they were kind of holding back, and it's difficult sometimes when you to sense the pressures that the players feel, and we always therefore encourage all our supporters to get behind whoever team that comes out in blue and amber on a Saturday or a Tuesday night.
And who will decide who's the manager? The chairman will obviously have the final push of the button, but who's the sort of committee? Yourself?
I think we'll all have a say in that, to be honest with you. I think the chairman will always bounce suggestions off myself. I would also bounce suggestions off him, and same with James as well. And I think it's important there's a unity there, that we all pick who we feel is the best person for the position.
Do you use your experience, your contacts to find out a little bit about these people?
Yeah, of course. It's just like any football player. You try and do as much due diligence as you can on a player, whether it's a manager or whatever member of staff it might be. I think you've always got to be trying to make sure you've looked into mitigating any risk, shall we say. But it's very, very hard, because at the end of the day it's a bit of a lottery in some ways as well, that somebody who might have done well elsewhere might not do well at certain clubs, and it's the same whether it's a player or a manager.
And Micky, of course, was very involved in the community side of things
too,
wasn't he?
And that's very important to us as a football club, that any manager buys into the youth system and the community, which is important to the club, that we are seen very much in the local community. Micky was brilliant for the community aspect, to make sure he was seen about the county of Shropshire. So it's important that any new manager we brings in buys into the philosophy of the club, and also the philosophy of the young players that we're trying to bring through with the academy that we've had success with. And I'm sure when there'll be a lot of managers, they would look at the facilities. So we're building a training ground just now, which is in process. So a lot of good positives about the football club, even the financial state of it as well, that it's an attractive proposition for people to come and work.
Word spreads very fast. I'm sure that you've already had emails, messages, phone calls to say, what about me?
I've had quite a number of texts, emails and phone calls already this morning. My phone hasn't stopped. In fact, it was half the battery was away within the first hour and a half of news breaking. So it's just, that's football for you. And in some ways it's horrible, because you think, do you know what, it's actually vultures, and we've got to look back over Micky and Michael as well, and think, well, do you know what, have a bit of respect for them too. But unfortunately, again, it's the nature of the game. People are always agents will try and contact you and say, what about X, Y and Z? And I think we just need to take stock just now, and let the dust settle. The most important thing is the team and the team performance come Saturday at Bradford.
But you wouldn't dismiss any of those emails straight off? You'd have a look.
You would never dismiss anybody unless it's somebody who's played Championship Manager, which I'm sure we'll get a few of them, or the new FIFA 17 game, which you always tend to get.
How about Sam Allardyce? He's not doing it, is he?
No comment.
Okay, so there's no time limit, but you'd rather get somebody in as soon as possible.
I think in any football club you would try and appoint somebody sooner rather than later. We appreciate Danny and his staff that stuck by and have agreed to take charge in the meantime, but it's not fair on anybody. Nobody at a football club likes uncertainty, including the players especially, and the supporters too. So I think we're keen to make an appointment, but as soon as we possibly can. But obviously this has all just happened in the last 12 hours, so it's one of these ones that you need to sometimes take stock and make sure you make the right decision, rather than jump into a decision which goes against you.
Brian, I've been mumbling and sort of groans for a couple of weeks now. Was there something specific after Swindon or after Scunthorpe that you thought that might have been Micky's last game?
I think you always take stock of the situation. I think you need to look at games, and I think, to be fair, this football club is always one that tries to back the manager as long as you possibly can. The relationship that I've I personally have had with Micky in the 8 months I've worked with him, sorry, and also the chairman's very close to him as well. It's difficult, because at the end of the day you do know the personality, you know the person deep down. You guys in the media know the guy, know the people, and you know the personal side of it, the human side of it, as I keep saying. And it's a difficult decision at any time to try and come to some agreement that, you know, it's in the best interests of the football club and Micky Mellon as well. So it's important that everybody leaves, albeit it's not a happy occasion, but it's somewhere where everybody realises that, you know what, sometimes it's in the best interests of everybody that it comes to it.
And you mentioned Micky's win ratio, his work with the youth team, community. It's important that people think back on that when they're judging him. You know?
I think if supporters look back to the promotion winning season as well, and even the cup run we had last year, there's a lot of good times that the football club have had under Micky, and I think we should all remember that and respect that, and wish him well for the future.
The brief couple of words that you used that I was going to put to you were attractive proposition, because, you know, everything going here for a League One club, it is certainly an attractive proposition.
No, I think I look at the budget we've got here, I look at the facilities we have here at the stadium, and I look at the training ground that we're progressing just now, and the club's definitely moving in the right direction. It's just important that on the park, which is a lot of things we can't actually control, but hopefully you try and make steps to try and improve that on the pitch as well as off the pitch, and I think we are a good proposition for anybody to look at. We've got a lot of potential, even from the budget point of view, from where we are. We are basically in the league. Our league position doesn't show where we should be in the league.
You mentioned the budget a couple of times. And I know bits came out last year where people could see what they could see. Does that have a say on what the club should achieve? I know it's hard.
I think football's very difficult, because you can have the best players on the pitch, but they don't always gel together as well. So I think it's very difficult with budget. But I think you probably, as a football club, try and judge where you should be, where you would aim to be. And for me personally, I always think we should probably around the mid-table mark in the way of budget, until I know what everybody else's budget. You're trying to, I was at Scunthorpe Tuesday night, and you're trying to work out what their budget is, which they apparently don't have one, which is quite an interesting proposition. But anyway, so there are certain clubs you look at and you go, well, you know, you try and work out what their budget is, and you think, well, we should be above that, or we are below that. Obviously the Football League will produce that at some point. We'll get an idea of where we are, and I think it's important that any investment we are doing in the team should be reflected in where we are in the league.
I know you don't want to put a date on it for when someone comes in,
No.
but I presume it'll be, you know, drawing up a shortlist, then interview process.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you're always thinking in your head, and football also as well. You always need to think ahead, and we all have been in the game long enough that we know that at some point that Micky, you know, potentially would go. You're hoping that he goes on to better things, not in, you know, circumstances we are in today, but you're always then trying to looking at around you for plan B if that ever happens. So I think you're kind of always aware of who's impressed you, who you think could be potential, but it's very, very hard because you don't necessarily know when they come here. I'm sure if you ask 10 supporters today to pick who they want as their next manager, they would come up with probably 7 to 10 different names. So you're never going to please everybody as well, which I think people need to try and just get behind the football club, because at the end of the day, the most important thing isn't the board, isn't Micky, the manager, whatever. It's the football club and the football team, and they need to get behind the players.
Supporters know, and we know that there have been managers here recently watching games. Of course, they may have been scouting for all we know, but that shows an interest already before the gaffer had even gone, I suppose.
I think you've always got people here, and people always speculate. Unfortunately, there's too much speculation sometimes in football, especially your paper should know that. But anyway, sometimes you can read too much into certain circumstances, and you look at it and you just have to take it a bit of pinch of salt. Sometimes people could be at games, they might be here for a reason, they might be looking for somebody else, they might be scouting. They're not necessarily here because they think they want to take over Shrewsbury Town. They might be here for other reasons. I think sometimes in football we look too much at speculation. Let's just take stock of where we are just now and move forward.
And just finally, if you were going to put a word out there for the supporters to hear, I suppose, what would that be in terms of going forward?
Going forward, I think the most important thing as I keep saying, is get behind the team. Hopefully we'd like to take a big support to Bradford on Saturday and support the players the way they always do. What I can say in my time since I've been here is there's an incredible patience amongst the Shrewsbury Town supporters, which I've never seen before. Even when the team's been losing, the supporters really get behind the team. And I'm not just saying that's speaking from the heart. It's quite surprised me, and I've spoken to a lot of people, that how the Shrewsbury Town fans really get behind the team in adversity rather than getting on at them. So I would always encourage them to try and travel in numbers as they possibly can, support the team, because at the end of the day that's what we're here for, and hopefully support whoever we choose in the near future, and know that we'll always act in the best interest of the football club.
It's an interesting time because it's the first time a manager comes in and the transfer window is shut until January. So what he's got team-wise is what he's got to work with.
I think well, me personally, I've spoken to a number of people who are supporters. I think everybody realises that the team there are actually good enough, the players are good enough. I think, Micky was right. We tried to bring players in who are League One ready, and by the way, there'll be nobody hurting more than the players just now, who always had a close affinity to Micky. I spoke to Adam Alabd and Jim O'Brien with Danny earlier and explained to them what the circumstances were, where we were at, just for transparency, and asking them to try and galvanise the squad together and try and go to Bradford on Saturday and get the best result we possibly can. I think the players, we've all seen in games at certain times that the players are good enough, and the league position isn't where we should be for the standard of players that we have here at the football club. Micky asked us for League One ready players, gave us a list, we produced them, and it's up now to the players to show that they are the League One players that which they are, which we all have faith in, and I'm sure the supporters have faith in as well, and hopefully it'll be a turning point for the football club.